things Fred did doesn't deserve to retire on the taxpayer dime. If you ask Fred what those things were, he'd tell you. Fred wouldn't give you excuses. What he did, and that's why he was out there on the road at 72 years old, instead of in a beachside condo in Florida, or a house on the edge of a golf course in Vegas. Las Vegas was another thing that had gone up in smoke. Fred spent a lot of time in Vegas over the years, but that was all over. The people that run Nevada have certain standards to maintain, and some years ago they were persuaded that Fred Pascente failed to meet them. Nevada officials keep something called the Black Book. You won't find a copy at the library, but you can see it online. Its official name is the Excluded Person List of the Nevada State Gaming Control Board, and you can find it on the GCB's website. If you went to the Excluded Persons page and scrolled down a few rows, you'd see Fred Pascente's photo there. This is the list of people who are banned for life from entering any casino in the state of Nevada. They would commit a felony by doing so, and a casino that fails to report the presence of a listed individual on its premises will be sanctioned. Out of all the wise guys, card counters, and slot cheats in the country, the Black Book currently lists just over 30 people, making it a very exclusive club, more exclusive than the United States Senate, as Fred liked to point out. Past honorees, now deceased, include names a lot better known than Fred's: Giancana, Caifano, Spilotro. Pride isn't exactly the word for what Fred felt about his listing, but in the circles he moved in for much of his life, it was a mark of distinction. It wasn't the only one in Fred's life. There were also the police department commendations for breaking up a rape in progress or nabbing a prolific North Side burglar. There was the write-up in Gay Life magazine for collaring a predator who had been drugging and robbing gay men in Chicago and other cities across the country. Those awards tend to complicate a person's attitude toward Fred Pascente just a little. We like to think that the line is sharp and clear between good guys and bad guys, white hats and black hats, cops and crooks. Fred's career says otherwise. He's a scumbag, said a veteran Chicago law enforcement figure, a longtime organized crime foe with no sympathy for wise guys. He's a nice guy, said another retired copper, equally straight but perhaps a little more willing to separate professional from personal criteria. Comments posted on Second City Cop, a blog on Chicago police affairs, were split. Fred was a good detective with a dogged determination to lock up bad guys, read one comment. Another responded, "If we looked at those arrest reports of yore, I'm sure the bad guys were just fellow hoods, taking away business from the guys Freddie was looking out for." Ambivalence reigned in Fred's career. In the game of cops and robbers, he was both a cop and a robber. The ambivalence is a crucial part of Fred's story. From its earliest days, Chicago was the kind of town where you couldn't always tell the cops from the crooks. If people can't quite make up their minds about Fred Pascente, it's because Chicago could never quite make up its mind about the mob. Fred Pascente's story tracks the waning years of the greatest criminal empire in American history. Fred had a role in that empire, and if it wasn't a starring role, it was an instructive one. Not everybody in the mob can be a boss, and not everybody needs to be a killer. The business of organized crime, like any other, requires role players and specialists, and guys who are willing to put in the hours. You could say Fred was a specialist. One thing the mob can always use is a discreet copper or two. But Fred's story tracks more than developments in criminology and sociology. It's a story about good and bad people, and the good and bad choices one person can make. It's a tale of moral failure, bad judgment, callousness, and greed. But there's also loyalty, generosity, and frequent outbreaks of goodwill. Fred's ethical system had holes in it you could drive a truckload of stolen whiskey through. But if you didn't hit the hole, you'd have a fight on your hands. It's easy to disapprove of Fred, but it's hard not to like him. Getting to know Fred Pascente means learning that people are complicated, even if the 10 Commandments are simple. If passing judgment on Fred Pascente is easy,